Hirilun is the kind of game where what you see is what you get. It was its visual style / overall graphics that appealed to me. There was something striking about the simplicity that it offers when compared to other modern games that try to make do with a ton of color. Simply put, I liked its visual offerings because despite being very simple, they stood out. Besides that first impression, I wasn't sure what to expect from the actual gameplay. I was surprised when I saw that Hirilun features massive levels. Not only that, they're varied. If you've played Mirror's Edge, imagine a game where there's more freedom / things to do. I'm sure some out there will take that as blasphemy, but I liked how creative Hirilun was with its levels and their different themes. One that especially stood out to me was a pipe-themed level. This level involved a lot of zigging and zagging, but it still managed to throw you a curveball every once in a while. Despite being largely black and white, Hirilun still managed to do a lot with just 2 colors. During the pipe level, I got used to the idea of where I needed to jump, but by including different shaded pipes or sudden gaps, I'd be thrown off. I mean that literally. There were plenty of moments of frustration where, due to falling from high above, I'd either have to restart in order to try to beat the level under a specific time, or I'd have to mad dash towards where I previously was. I liked that because it offered variety and it was a good way of avoiding repetitive gameplay, but there were points where Hirilun expected you to do too much with its unrefined controls. More specifically, the camera. I had issues controlling the camera, and as a result of that, I'd regularly have to move in an awkward manner to look where I wanted to, and this eventually cut into my runtime. To paint a better picture of how this was, think of how Michael Keaton as Batman would have to move his entire body to take a look at something. Besides having to take extra time in order to move ahead, this was a bigger issue when I'd get stuck. There was one moment in particular where I was trapped in a hole and I couldn't jump out. I tried dashing against objects to see if that'd lead to me bouncing out of where I was, but that didn't help at all. I realize that it's not possible because Hirilun is a Nintendo Switch game, but I feel that it's the kind of game that would be better off with a mouse and keyboard. Unlike some games, Hirilun was one where a lot of trial and error was required. Due to how massive the levels could be, I sometimes took up to an hour to figure out what needed to be done. The levels were designed in such a way where there were multiple levels in one. At first, I liked this. It's because I was able to continue through different routes, and that added more variety to the game. Before long, I realized that even though there were multiple different ways to approach a level, there were ringed paths for a reason. This was more or less the dev's way of saying, use this path. When I didn't, I'd spend too much time running around not knowing where to go. Even if this was frustrating to deal with, I like that Hirilun approached levels this way. In other similar games, falling off the main path could lead to you having to restart from the beginning. I took this as a sign that the devs wanted players to be able to approach the game in a creative manner. It's true that the ringed paths will take you from A to B by default, but if you're a skilled player, there's the possibility of finding more efficient paths. I got a small taste of this as I played, but the truth is that I wanted to accomplish the minimum that was required of me in order to move on. Were I a different kind of player, I'd probably spend hours trying to think of unique routes in order to whittle down my overall runtime. Bottom line, knowing the levels is a big part of doing well. The more familiarized you are with the levels, the faster / more efficient you could advance through them. I wouldn't say that Hirilun is a hard game, but there were moments where I was more frustrated than I wanted to be. It's because it required a bit of concentration in order to perform well. It helped that you had 3 special abilities that would allow you to better traverse the level's obstacles. You could air dash and run fast. I'm vaguely sure that you could power slide, but seeing as how that wasn't as necessary as the previous 2, I questioned if it was doable at all. The special abilities made it so that you could complete levels more efficiently, but there came a point where they wouldn't regenerate. Since you could only use them a limited number of times, you had to know when and where they'd most be useful. This wasn't unfair at all, and I liked how some of the later levels allowed these special abilities to regenerate again. By doing so, Hirilun knew how to go about balancing the challenges it has to offer. Hirilun is a game that I pretty much beat in one sitting. To some that's bad, but the same could be said of the classic Resident Evil games that are so near and dear to me. It knew what it wanted to accomplish and it managed to do so. The truth is, I'll gladly play a game that approaches its length just right instead of a game that's padded and that just goes on and on. Despite what I've just written, I still think that Hirilun offers a lot of replayability. It's because of how open-ended it is. You can keep playing to try to get better runtimes, and I'm sure that some speedrunners will love that aspect of the game. It also helps that the faster you go, the more stars you get. It's kind of like getting a banana sticker for being well-behaved, but it is what it is. I had some issues with Hirilun, mainly it not having tighter controls, but I still think it's fun and well made. There are all sorts of platformers out there, but I rarely encountered those that make use of FPV. For that, I say Hirilun is worth giving a try. I received a key to this game for free, but it's currently available for $7.99. I think some won't be satisfied by the game when compared to its cost, but if you're the kind of gamer that likes to squeeze every bit of enjoyment out of a game, give it a try. How do you feel about open-ended levels? Will issues with camera movement prevent you from trying out a game? What are your thoughts on black and white games or color-limited games in general? If you enjoyed this content, please feel free to like, comment, subscribe, share, and if you're up for it, become a patron. Thank you very much for watching.